Hi, and welcome to another episode of Alte Herren. My name is Rob Runacres, and I'm joined by my friend Hans Jodlind, who will introduce this episode.
Yes, today's topic will be what do we want to see in a HEMA competition, and this is kind of a post Swordfish episode, I think. So I selected a fight from Swordfish that I really enjoyed watching. It was between Thomas Mussel from Sweden and Maciek Talaga from Poland. And it was a fantastic fight. It was in the eliminations of longsword. I didn't film the fight, but when I saw it, I realized if I take up my phone and start filming it, I would just miss something, So I couldn't film it. I just stood there and watched it. I was very happy that someone actually filmed it. So we're going to take a look at that fight in a while, because I think it represents really, really nice historical fencing.
Okay, because obviously it's a little bit it's actually a lot clickbaity, the title of this episode, and I think it's born out of a lot of discussions that we've had over our episodes about what we want to see in a competition, and also there's a lot of discussion, as usual, about competitions being good or bad, and some things just being too sporty, and that. So hopefully we'll see this video, and we're going to talk through why it is that you think this represents what should be seen, and then we can sort of open up the discussion, and hopefully people watching this will come back with their thoughts as well.
Cool, let's start.
Okay, so.
Okay. You will see Thomas Mussel on the left and Maciek Talaga in the red gambesson.
Okay.
And I really like the idea that the way they did the eliminations this year. As you see, they don't just rush into each other and try to score a point or something. They circle each other. Maciek Talaga takes the center, Thomas circles around him, and they are very, very careful about what's happening, what's going on, how their opponent moves, the guard, the distance. It's actually really, really intense to fight this way. It's mentally draining for both of them. Did you see this fight, Rob, live?
No, I didn't. I'm watching it intently now. As usual, I'm watching the footwork and posturing, just how nicely poised they are.
Yeah.
They're manoeuvring around then, just trying to feel their way in.
Yeah. It was actually really fantastic to see. And you see Thomas, they're just trying little things here.
Yeah, just
trying to test each other. They don't want to go in full force. They're just trying to test, because it's so important. And the more time it's ticking on, it's getting more and more serious, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I had real trouble with these mats, actually, with the rapier, because they're very small.
Yeah, they are.
So, particularly with a very extended weapon like the rapier, it was really difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, just trying to feel each other out there.
I remember when I saw it was really exciting. Here.
Yeah.
And it's red.
I didn't actually see the action on that. What did he do? I saw him come in, and I didn't actually see what he got.
Yeah, he came in and cut him on the arms, I think. And Thomas, I think Thomas actually landed an afterblow, but I'm not really sure. And yeah, Thomas does a very nice cut to the leg. He's very good at cutting very good.
Really playing on measure here, just
yeah.
in and out, just bobbing in.
Yeah. And as you see, the fight's almost over. So far they had 2 exchanges. It's really interesting to see. Yeah, this is one of the best fights I've actually seen at Swordfish, and I've seen many fights. This was a fantastic fight. And I talked to both fencers afterwards and just congratulated them and thanked them for this display of great swordsmanship and great skill. And
we're going to get comments on this, Hans, tonight. The reason being, just talking over when some actions happen there. The reason being is people are going to say there's not a lot going in on there, or they weren't coming in and controlling the blade. We get these criticisms, and it's very difficult to try and express how tense these things are in a video.
Yeah, I know.
When you compare with how it is live.
Yeah, I agree, and it's very, very hard to explain something that goes on YouTube videos. It's hard to kind of find that same intensity and feeling that you have when you either you see the fight live going on, or if you're actually in the fight. For Thomas and Maciek Dalaga, it was probably really draining and hard and intense. Just circling someone like that. I had fights like that, and it's fantastic. Those are the best fights, in my opinion, when both fencers actually care about what's going on, the distance. They don't want to get hit. That's the main thing. I don't want to get hit. If I get hit, I die. That's kind of mental attitude when you go into a bout like this. I love that.
I mean, that's obviously you speaking as a longswordist who is able to really, really read a fight very well. From an audience point of view, of course, it doesn't have that same drama as a flurry of blows and stuff like that. Assuming that it's a relatively clear flurry of blows.
No, perhaps not. But most people who were there were fencers, and they probably understood what was going on. But yeah, I can definitely understand that if you're not used to see these kind of fights, maybe you want to see more action, more swordplay, more things going on. But for me, that was a perfect display. I would love to see more fights like that, actually.
Okay, so let's kick this off then, really, as to what we're saying we want, or even if we differ slightly, what we want from a HEMA competition. What are the issues, do we feel, at the moment that we're seeing?
The issues, well, one big thing is that fencers sometimes just jump in and don't care about getting hit, as long as they land the blow on their opponent. They don't really care about getting hit themselves. So that's one thing. So,
really, just taking that point, what we're saying is, are we saying that increasingly we are seeing competitions that are less martial? Okay, and this I know is where the arguments start to happen. Because we talked about this before we started recording, as we always do. Effectively, a potted history of HEMA could be seen as HEMA goes partly because people are not wanting to do some of the Olympic fencing, because they want to get something that's more along the lines of real combat.
Yeah,
we fairly agreed on that, because obviously there's a very elaborate and sophisticated rule set for Olympic fencing in order to show point scoring. Then we have competition in HEMA, which is there to try and test people in a fairly pressurized environment, in order to, as we're saying, to test their martial prowess in a pressurized environment. And then we're having what we feel is happening in certain competitions. As usual, we have to lace everything with caveats. That people are increasingly wanting to score the most points in a competition in order to win. Now, that can't really be a criticism, because if people are using the right rules and they are winning, even if they're getting hit, that's still fair. They are playing according to the rules, and that's absolutely fine. But I think what we're trying to say is that, or at least what I'm waffling on about now, is we're wanting to see something which is showing a control of the opponent, whereby you are able to score a point, inflict a wound, whatever you want to call it, without any damage to yourself.
Yeah.
Is that what we're trying to say?
Yeah, it is, because I agree. If you use the rules, if you fight according to the rules set, and then you haven't done anything wrong, really. It's more up to us as the judges, I think, to look upon the fight from a quality perspective, and that's something we have to do. We have to be better when it comes to that, I think. And so, what I feel after this year's Swordfish is that we had a lot of discussions about certain fights, stuff like that. But it all comes down to what the judges actually feel about an exchange. And if I score a point or 2 points or whatever, or if I now can, as we had this year, and I loved it, that you can show no quality. You can see an exchange, bam, bam, bam. You see some stuff happen, and then you can say, no, I didn't like that. Was no quality from me. That was the good thing, and I think that's what we have to be. We have to use that more as judges, because that is something that goes out. It moves away from the rule set. The fighters can fight according to the rules, whatever way they want, but we as judges can use the way we use the flags and the symbols are actually quite a little bit away from the rules. Do you understand what I'm?
I think so. I think that the issue is with that is that, again, if people are playing by the rules, then if they get enough points to win, then they've done it by the rules. And as you know, as much as I can bitch about losing against people who are charging in against me, and they ran up my sword to a degree. If they hit me more times according to that rule set, they won, and that's I have to suck that up basically. So I think it's probably wider than the judges to some degree. I mean, it is a fundamental that if we want to see something which reflects having a respect of a sharp weapon, as opposed to I want to accumulate as many points as possible, because my ultimate goal is not to display sword fighting, it is to win a medal. And I'm using this to be a devil's advocate here. Then we need to change the rule sets to reflect that. I guess to put more onus on the attacker to be careful and defended. And then also that the judges have got to follow through on that. So I think for me, I think it's a wider thing. We as I keep on hammering here, we can't blame people for playing according to the rules. That's exactly what they're meant to be doing. We have to adapt that along with the culture in order to ensure that people play martially.
Yeah. I agree. Do you have any ideas for how we should change rule sets, or is that another episode maybe?
That may be another episode. The trouble is every time you mention a rule set or you come up with a rule set, you've got another person who will be able to point all the holes in it.
Yeah, I know.
That sort of thing. I mean, the nice thing about the Swordfish rules and the Nordic rules and many rules, but whoever long point rules are on, is they've been built up carefully over the years. They've been tested and they've got problems and all that. But they've also, I think, been tested within something of a cultural bubble. So some of the great fights that we've seen in Scandinavia have been people who have worked within that culture. And then, of course, you get a group of fencers and who come from outside of that, who know the rules well, train a different way, and they go boom, 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 boom. And that's no one's at fault here. There's nothing wrong with that, but there will always be flaws in that. Having said all of that, in my caveat, I don't know. I guess basically you penalise someone for coming in undefended. So sure, they can, if they leave their leg out to try and to lure someone in to take a cheap shot, and they get hit on the leg and then smack them, that person responds to the head. Should they be rewarded for that? If they charge in and hit someone in the head, but the sword the opponent slashes their legs or gets, they get stabbed somehow, should they in fact be penalised? That should they get all the points for that? Because at the moment we're just doing it by weighted on body position for most of the rules. We talked about this outside the episode. I know historically, I think in Spain it was that the person who was the most offended would be the winner. I think you should still reward someone if they get a fantastic hit straight to the head, come out defended, completely unscathed, then they should be rewarded for that. So, but if they're coming in and just, they're going to take the risk of being hit because they know that they've got the speed, and out of 10 times they're going to get, say, like 6 hits opposed to the other person's 4. Then that we need to be able to deal with that.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, for me, I would like to see fighters should be able to fight within the rules of the way they want. But for me, I would like to see more. How should I say? A clear dialogue between the tournament organization, the people who put together the rule set and organize the competition, have to have a very clear dialogue with the judges and referees of what kind of fencing do we want to promote within this rule set, what kind of fencing do we want to see, and then they try to train or instruct the judges on what kind of fencing they want to see getting points and what kind of fencing they want to see getting no quality, stuff like that. Because sometimes you see judges, we still see judging from people who have not very much experience, and it's not fair to them to stand there and and try to score hits when 2 extremely experienced fencers go at it, and they stand there and have no idea what's going on, but they have to score hits, and it's not really fair to judges. So I want to see more judges training, more instructions for judges during before competitions and stuff like that. So because I think that will give us better fencing in competition.
I agree. I think it's incredibly difficult to get that cadre of judges together, to get that subjective side, or let's call it interpretive rather than subjective, because I think that's a pejorative term, subjective. Yeah. If you're going to have interpretive judging, you need to have a wealth of experience behind you. And that's very difficult because, and there have been some very interesting articles about people should be, investing more in judging, and we shouldn't necessarily be paying or incentivizing judges to come in. People should do it as part of the culture, but the trouble is judging is really, really hard work, and it's very taxing. So I think we do have, and that's a whole other episode as well, but how we actually build up that judging cadre is quite difficult. One of the interesting things on the Italian system for the Italian historical rule set, CSEN ones, I think it's called, is they penalise unrealistic fencing. So they do penalise the charges as well.
Suicidal attacks and stuff like that we talked about. Okay, do they do it like consistently or?
Well, I did when I was reffing. But the problem is, though, what do you call unrealistic fencing? Because if you look at the history of the time, people were idiots back then as well and charged in and got horrific wounds.
I agree. I agree.
I'm being facetious. It's competent fencing. That's one way of doing it.
Yeah.
I do. The fact is that if you're going to have something that rewards higher points with only a minimal minus taking away, if you get hits in return, people are naturally going to go for it, and it will do that. And it is, and we are seeing a change, I think, in the people entering competitions there. A lot of them are younger. They are training specifically for competitions. There are various clubs that, you know, they're just interested in competitions, and they regard that as martially valid. So that's all they're interested in. Then they're not doing the HEMA side of things insofar as the H is concerned, the history, which we've talked about before. So I agree with you. We need the judges. I do think that we need to throw up some of the rule sets in the air. I mean, we talked about continuous flow in the previous episode. We had a lot of discussion about this with a lot of people hating it, thinking it's just going to end up in a shitfest. Do you think that continuous flow, would you like to reassert that the continuous flow would actually balance things out?
I'm not sure. I think it could be a nice thing to add to a tournament or something like that. We had it now. We had 2 exhibition fights, or was it 1 this year at Swordfish, and I was judging. I've been fighting in 1. I've been judging now. And it was really fun to judge. I was judging together with Magnus Lundborg from Uppsala. And during the fight, we stood there and we talked about, wow, this is really fun to do, you know, because you got to assess what they did on the mat. You know, you have to get to talk with an experienced fencer about what you see, what's going on. So I think it's a nice thing to add to a tournament. But I don't think you can base a whole big tournament on it, because it's actually maybe a bit boring for the audience, because they don't see the score. They just see the fights going on, and they have no idea how it will end, actually. So
yeah, I mean,
that's one problem, actually.
Yeah, I mean, audience education is a tricky one, isn't it? Because are you attempting to compete in order to give the competitor something, or are you competing in order to display something? Gosh, is that the 3rd episode we got planned out? Should point out that you were actually meant to be doing that particular Swordfish demonstration fight, weren't you? And you chickened out.
Yeah, I chickened out because they wanted me to judge as well in the finals, and I said, I'm gonna judge.
That doesn't ring true to me. I'm sure that was because
I was too lazy to change my clothes. That was it. That's true.
Yeah, okay, that does sound a little more like it. I think the fighters were still trying to score points rather than recognizing that continual flow should be about demonstrating technique to the judges. And again, it's difficult, isn't it? Because how do you demonstrate technique? Do you have to demonstrate technique by hitting someone? Can you actually score by parrying and defending yourself? These are all difficult things. I mean, for me, a continual flow, as I see it, should be that you are demonstrating more your technique, your movement, your counter guard, whatever, to the judges and by extension to the audience, to make it really nice. So it's almost just down to form. But of course, it's very difficult if you know you're being scored according to how many hits you get, in order to demonstrate that, because you're still thinking, shit, I've got to score another hit.
Yeah.
If I get a headshot in just before the end, and you get blum,
I might win. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So you think maybe it would be good to try that, but add some sort of point system for form, or control, or something like that? Or
I think if we're going to go down that route, we have to accept there's going to be some subjective analysis by judges. And this is never going to be popular. I mean, one of the things about the standard highest point win is it's very clear to understand. It's transparent, one hopes. You can also process people really quickly. You can get that through. So you can get through your however 160 or something. I can't remember how many it was at Swordfish this year. You can process those within a tight schedule. If you're going to do something else, that can be tricky. I think one thing though is there's obviously been a lot of discussion about the sort of suicidal attacks, or the fast attacks whilst taking a hit. Is this really a problem? Are we actually genuinely worried about this, or is this another, HEMA drama, storm in a teacup thing?
Oh, HEMA drama. Maybe it is a little bit of HEMA drama. I mean, as long as if someone hits you with a very, very fast attack and then you jump out, yeah, fine. They haven't done anything wrong at all. If they're just much faster than you, so suck it up, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you do the suicide attack and just rush in straight forward, hit your opponent, and then don't care if you get like a sword in the face, a dagger in the throat, or something, then I don't know. I don't like that kind of fencing because it would end up with two dead idiots in the field or something like that, or two severely injured people, and it's no one. I don't know any treatise that says it's okay to get hit as long as you hit him. I don't know if someone wrote that somewhere. I don't think so.
I think that's so counterintuitive. No, I don't think so at all. I mean, it's the bottom line is really, do people want? Well, yeah. I mean, for us, that's don't get hit. I mean, do people want to win medals, and not care about how they get them? And if so, are they happy to go down a more sporting rule, which will necessitate like the Olympic fencing have done, a far more complex rule set, right of way, all of that sort of stuff? Or do we do something that says, no, we are determinedly wanting to represent as close as we can a fight with a sharp, and therefore we want to explore that? And there are going to be masses of arguments about this, but there's also, I think, something the community needs to realise is people have got to experiment and make mistakes. We're going to have to go through quite a number of iterations, I think, before we get this right, and a lot of training.
Yeah, I completely agree, and we have to look upon. Sometimes it sounds like what the HEMA community talks about the problems with the competition and tournament, blah blah blah. But I mean, for how long have we had these competitions? I judged my first one in 2008 at Swordfish with nylons, long sword, and it's like 10 years ago. We haven't done this more than 10, 12 years competitions, and they sucked really badly in the beginning. And I mean, we are slowly getting better at everything. So we have to, just accept it. So, new cultures come in, new rules have come in, and we have to deal with it. But yeah.
Okay.
I feel kind of fine.
Okay, so I suppose a final word. I've kind of stated what I want to see from a HEMA competition. Do you have a final word on that?
Oh, well, I think I stated it in the beginning that I want to see more fencing that looks like the film we saw, the fight we saw, actually. More the fencers who actually care and don't want to get hit. Okay,
that sounds good to me. I no doubt we'll get a load of, or at least I hope we'll get a load of response on this. Yeah. The main thing, I suppose, at the end of the day is this is meant to be fun. So stop worrying too much about it, other folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.